Hi, I'm Justin Aquilante, ESA Sales Director, here today with Dr. Randall Johnson, founder and CEO of Acelerex. Doctor, welcome. Dr. Johnson, 2021 has seen a monumental shift in how the broader energy sector is thinking about the power grid. In addition to the ongoing effects of the pandemic, we have had a brownout in ERCOT and a full-blown crisis in the UK and other parts of Europe this year. How has the past year impacted your assessment of the needs of the grid?
It's certainly been an interesting year. To be honest, though, when we started Acelerex in 2017, we took a different approach to most companies who were looking at disrupting the grid at the time. We didn't focus on any particular segment or sector, such as residential, C&I, or EVs or grid scale. We first thought about the grid itself. We looked at the needs of the grid as a whole, and then designed our products around how we saw those needs evolving. It was certainly clear that a renewables-driven distributed grid, the so-called democratized grid that many were talking about, was moving away from a utility-centric architecture and towards an end-user-centric architecture. But it wasn't limited to any single segment or subsector. It was going to be much broader and total, affecting a lot of segments simultaneously. Bilateral has been a popular buzzword in today's markets, but really the future power grid was always going to be multilateral. What it meant was that the delivery in and out of the grid was going to get much more complicated. Utilities and developers needed to place solar and wind onto the most appropriate nodes. Industrial customers suddenly needed to understand which of their sites were most suitable for renewables. And of course, more and more individuals were placing solar panels on their rooftops and parking an EV in their garages. All of these different actors will need to communicate with each other, trade with each other, and ultimately balance each other so that the grid continues to function reliably. It is all a far cry from the 1920s era centralized grid. We believe this era will be disruptive in terms of adding digital grid to the AC/DC technologies of the 20th century.
Dr. Johnson, what has that meant in terms of your business and how you have positioned your products to meet those increasingly complex needs of the end consumer?
As mentioned, we took a bottoms-up approach to thinking about the digital grid. In the first instance, this new multilateral power grid is going to generate and require far more data than ever before. The data would need to be properly collected, monitored, and analyzed, and fed back to the participants to empower their ability to respond to fluctuations. More and more, this is going to be happening in real time. The power sector has always been data intensive, but that old mode of data centered around optimizing coal and gas supply chains was going to become increasingly marginalized. The core issue with renewables is intermittency. The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. All of a sudden, the power sector needs to become a lot better at weather forecasting business. This requires some very sophisticated AI and machine learning software. Likewise, on the demand side, the coming wave of EVs, even if realistically it might need to wait until the sufficient charging infrastructure is built, is introducing an entirely new and volatile source of demand. As sources of both supply and demand increasingly fragment, participants, especially utilities and regulators, need to look outside of their own organizations to collate and make sense of this data in real time. No one player holds the cards anymore. That's the nature of the multilateral grid. Acelerex's foundation in terms of both products we provide to the end user, as well as how we look at the world internally, is heavily reliant on generating the most comprehensive data and analytics.
Dr. Johnson, where does this data-driven and customer-centric view of the 21st century power grid lead your company going forward?
The critical thing for us is how we design our products. We ensure two things. Firstly, our platform is designed to be seamless and comprehensive. By this, we mean that the solutions we offer our customers are ready to meet the demands of any market segment from day one. There is no doubt at the end, storage will drive convergence of all these end markets, renewables and storage, C&I and residential, and EVs. But it will happen in stages, and the sequence of that staging is not yet clear. For example, right now there is a lot of excitement around EVs, and rightfully so, But the catalysts for EV adoption, charging infrastructure, public sector fleet transformation are still likely a couple years away. In the medium term, there is a lot of debate as to who will be the first major wave of adopters of energy storage. Will it be the developers commissioning utility scale batteries, or large industrial consumers moving to decarbonize operations, or the residential solar market, which has attracted a lot of attention in the last 5 years? This is as of yet unclear. So the key for Acelerex has been to be in all of these market segments from day one, which is made feasible by our customer and data-centric design. Second, for that future convergence to become a reality, the grid needs to be run by software that is built with flexibility to provide real-time 360-degree feedback in order for a truly responsive multilateral grid to emerge. Acelerex has developed a 3-layered platform to effect this flexible, responsive, and multilateral future. Analytics, data services, and automation. We collect and analyze data in real time, then have the technology to automate and charge and discharge response. The same underlying Acelerex technology is simultaneously accessible to the utilities, developers, office buildings, factories, homes, EVs. The software becomes the glue for the multilateral grid to hold it all together, ensuring resiliency and reliability through peaks and troughs. The era of options has arrived, and Acelerex is a platform to make the 21st century grid run.
Dr. Johnson, thank you for your time today. I look forward to connecting with you in the very near future to learn more about what you're doing. Thanks again. Look forward to speaking with you.